There's a saying, and it is that birds of a feather flock together. And if you stop and think about most of your friends, those really close friends, they are a lot like you. So, why is it whenever couples pick a partner when they go to get married, they often pick the opposite? Well, today we're talking about introverts and the pros and cons in marriage of being an introvert or being married to an introvert. I want you to think about a magnet. A magnet literally sticks to that metal or it repels. And when you take two magnets that are just alike and you put them on the positive side, they like repel each other. Or the negative side, they repel each other. But whenever you put that positive and that negative together, they actually stick together. And that might be explain a little bit about extroverts and introverts getting married. So, yes, so often we are attracted to people that are just like us. But often we need somebody who will fill in those gaps. They'll fill in those gaps. Um, if you are married to an introvert or you are an introvert, if you're married to an introvert, you may need to understand a little bit about them because the differences that you have literally sometimes make you feel unloved, not important. Maybe they don't show any emotion and you literally think, do they even love me anymore? All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that today. Well, one of the main pros of being an introvert is introverts have a deep connection with their spouse. Typically, introverts don't like change. So that's good, right? They don't like change and they're typically good listeners. And so they literally, when you are talking, they put their attention on you. So introverts have deep connections, and that's something that we all want in our marriage. The second thing is they have excellent listening skills. Now, this is one of the things I teach about all the time is the importance of listening. And these people will give you their eyes, they will be singularly focused, and they will listen to you. Unless you're the opposite and you talk so very much. That's another day's lessons, right? But introverts are excellent listeners and they truly give you their attention. The third thing is they're very thoughtful. They're very thoughtful and kind and sometimes empathetic. They pay attention to people and they are very good about supporting their partner and making them feel special. They're very independent. And that means they don't need anyone else to go with them here or go with them there. They are actually loners and they like to be alone. In fact, they refuel whenever they're alone. And so often, this independence makes a spouse who is opposite and doesn't need that alone time feel like they're alienated or pushed away or not paid attention to. A fifth thing is they are very loyal. And I kind of said that earlier. They're a very loyal person. They don't need change. And so they're not going to make changes very quickly on anything. And so they're very loyal. Then the sixth thing is they have a calm demeanor. So, whenever those fusses and fights and disagreements start, they are quiet, they are calm, and sometimes they literally shut down. And so, if you are an extrovert and you're yelling or screaming or you're overly excited, or they kind of shut down. But remember, they're good listeners. And so they're going to listen. But if you keep on yelling, they're not going to continue listening. Now, let's look at some of the things that they need. They need alone time. And that means Daily, they need alone time. So when they come in from work, they may need to just be by themselves for a little while instead of having a chat and talking. If it's if it's the partner that is at home all day long and they've been with the kids, then they're looking for some conversation. They're looking to share with their partner what all went on today. The good things, the cute things that the 2-year-old did, or the bad things that happened with the 7-year-old, or the arguing or the frustrations, but they don't really want to hear that right away because they need that alone time. So a good idea is to allow them a little bit of time by themselves whenever they come in from work. And if it's opposite and it's the other way around, and mom's been with the kids all day and she's an introvert, then she needs a little time all by herself to refuel. Do you see what I'm saying there? Communication barriers happen whenever you are opposite of each other because one wants to talk about everything. They need to talk it out, talk about the frustrations, and the other one does not. They're an analyzer and they're thinking about everything themselves, and they don't need to talk it out. But what happens is whenever things aren't talked about, then one partner feels frustrated and feels like things can't be resolved because they need to talk it out or talk about the problems. So you can see how introverts and extroverts do have communication barriers. So it doesn't matter what brought them together. Once they're married, communication barriers are a really big thing. And this is it. I teach communication secrets for marriage. This class is not only good for people who are married, but it's good for people to understand their kids. It's good for people to understand people at work that are different than them, because we expect everyone to be just like us and have the same needs that we have. But the truth is, we're all different. And these differences, we assume we're alike. These differences give us different preferences, different ways of doing things. And communication is an important part of building a solid relationship. The quiet person, the introvert, the quiet person is not talking. And so you think something's wrong. Maybe they're not smiling. Let's think about the different ways that we communicate. Body language. Introverts don't have a lot of body language. Yeah, you always hear about the silent type, right? Not a lot of body language. Whenever they're speaking, they don't get too excited. There's not a lot of reflection in their voice. Honestly, when you get a smile from an introvert, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so precious. They smiled. Yeah, not a lot of smiles, not a lot of body language, not a lot of tone of voice. And so it's hard to tell when they're really excited or really into you, right? But you look back on those days whenever you're dating and you're thinking, they were into me then and they talked to me then. Why was that? Because you were getting to know each other. You were figuring out what you had in common, what you liked about each other. And then once you get comfortable with each other in marriage, suddenly they get quiet. They need their time alone. And now you're realizing your differences. One person likes to go to parties, be with a lot of people, go out to dinner, go out in public, wherever. And the introvert likes small crowds, just a few chosen people that they especially like. They don't like a lot of loudness. They don't like attention drawn to them. And they just like a few friends. So what happens whenever you're married to an introvert and you're an extrovert? Can you see one likes lots of people, one likes alone time and feels that way? Also, the introvert may look and appear like they're unavailable because they're not talking, but they really are good listeners. And so whenever you're talking or when I'm talking, I know I like a little conversation. I like a little head bob. I like to see on your face that you're listening. I like to have your eyes